Who's going to win? Give me your pick.
No. This game.
I don't know either. This is Campuslore Live, where NFL players are the experts on college football. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside Aaron Murray. And this week, we're joined once again by Devin White, 5th overall draft pick in the 2019 NFL Draft for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and LSU alumni, and Riley Ridley, 4th-round draft pick for the Chicago Bears this past season from the University of Georgia. Aaron, those two teams obviously have a huge matchup this weekend in the SEC championship game, and 14 weeks are over. The regular season is complete. We'll recap what happened in rivalry week. We will look forward to conference championship week. But to start, let's kind of recap first season for some new head coaches around the nation. And I'm going to throw it directly down to Miami. Manny Diaz, some good, some bad.
Yeah, some good, some bad. Obviously, everyone right now is thinking about the bad. FIU, you're coming off a bye week. You're expected to win that game. It's a great atmosphere. I had the opportunity to be on the call for that. And they came out sleepwalking. And they thought they were just going to show up to the stadium and just run right through the Panthers. And the Panthers had something else going on. They came out there and dominated the game from the very first possession, getting a little interception, scoring right off of it. So good, bad. You're still making a bowl game, which is great. For any first-year head coach, the goal is let me make it to a bowl game. Let me get some of these young guys some extra practice during those 15 practices, and then see if you can get to that 7th win in the bowl.
Yeah, he's changing the culture down there, and it'll take some time, and I think Manny Diaz is the right guy for that job. We'll see if he has the opportunity to do that. Speaking of changing the culture, in Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Jeff Collins, wow, he's got a big job ahead of him, obviously changing from a triple option team to a more pro-style team, recruiting a different class of guys. 3-9 this season, just got absolutely whooped on by Georgia. Yeah. It's going to take some time on the flats.
It is going to take a long time for Georgia Tech. I mean, it's not just the culture. You're building a whole new offense from scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not one person on that offense right now that should be in a pro-style
especially
offense.
on the line.
The offensive line, those guys are built to just cut block. They're not built to pass pro. They're not built to really run pro when it comes to getting to the second level, getting to linebackers, getting to the secondary. And you have a quarterback who's a runner. All three of their guys, whoever they rotated in, those guys are meant to be under center running the triple option. They did not commit to Georgia Tech to take a 3- and 5-step drop, read a defense, and throw the ball vertically down the field. So you got to recruit a quarterback. They got someone from my alma mater, Plant High School down there in Tampa, coming up here. He can fling the ball around a little bit. But still, you got to bring these guys in. You got to develop them, teach them, grow them. And that's going to take a couple of years. So, I mean, for Jeff Collins, this is going to be a long ride.
No doubt.
Hey, you won a game at Miami, so that's something that I guess kind of feel good about.
Something to hang your hat on.
Smoked by the Dogs this weekend.
No doubt. What about Chris Kleeman at Kansas State? Obviously, they upset Oklahoma earlier in the year, and his history, right, at North Dakota State, an FCS powerhouse, couple national championships up there, prove that he could coach, build culture, win championships, comes into K-State, wins 8 games in his first season.
It's awesome to see. I mean, you beat Oklahoma. They just absolutely dominated the time of possession in that football game. And you beat Mississippi State. I know Mississippi State might not have been as good of a team as they've been the past couple of years, but that's still a pretty good SEC football team. You win those 2 games, you get to 8 wins. He knows what it takes to be a head coach. He walks into that room and guys understand what he did. I know it's at a smaller level, but still the guy won, and the guy won a lot of football games, so he has that credibility. And you saw the guys kind of buying in from day one, started the season off really hot, and like I said, alluded to those couple big-time wins in his first season.
What about a couple of guys getting back in the fold, most notably Les Miles at KU, a basketball school, right? He takes the job trying to change the culture. That's really the theme that we're discussing here. He wins 3 games. I'm not so sure I'm sold on Les Miles.
Les, I think Les got a little bit bored kind of during his get away from football a little bit. I mean, the biggest news out of Kansas this year was Snoop Dogg, and all that stuff going on.
At the Fog, that's right.
Les Miles, it's a basketball school, and he's not going to have success there. I'm sorry. He's a great head coach. He had a great career at LSU, but you're just not going to get kids excited about going to the University of Kansas to play football. So long road ahead. Maybe in a couple of years they might sniff a bowl game, but I just don't see anything special coming out of there anytime soon.
Those checks cash, though. I'm sure he's doing just fine. What about North Carolina? Mac Brown getting out of the TV booth, back at North Carolina. Goes 6-6 this year, beat Miami, beat NC State, and almost beat Clemson.
They almost beat Clemson. That would have been awesome to see a 2-point conversion win. And then Sam Howell, their true freshman quarterback, 35 touchdowns. So you come in, first-year head coach at this program. He's been there. Obviously, we know what he's done at Texas after that, but had a couple of years off. Now you get a true freshman quarterback. He does his thing. He gets to a bowl game. You almost beat Clemson. I think there's just a lot of momentum right now. There's a lot of good stuff there. So I think he can build on this season, get some big recruits next year. It's a beautiful campus. It's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
You're in a conference that's not very deep. I think he's the opportunity to get that 7th win, obviously, in the bowl game. I could see them making 8-9 wins next season.
Yeah, that'd be huge. A lot of opportunity in the ACC, obviously, except Clemson. You got to get past them. Let's go big picture here. Disappointing teams or most surprising teams from 2019. Speaking of the ACC, Florida State comes to mind when it's talking about disappointing teams.
Yeah, I'm going to go positive here, though. I want to talk about LSU.
Okay.
I mean, who would have thought this LSU offense would be scoring 48 points a game? Joe Brady coming in, the hot shot that Drew hates from the New Orleans Saints.
Who hates Joe Brady?
He doesn't believe that he's ready to kind of take that next step. Whatever. He came in to an offense that was dinosaur stuff.
Yes.
I mean, this stuff was so ancient. It was the power run game. It was blah. It was let the defense try to win the football game, keep it close. We'll win in the fourth quarter. He comes in, and now it's the best offense in the country, or one of the best offenses in the country.
Heisman Trophy winner, most likely.
Most likely Heisman Trophy winner. So, in Joe Burrow, 44 touchdowns, like I said, 48 points a game right now. So, I think to me that's the biggest surprise. I didn't believe it. When Joe Burrow came to SEC Media Day and I interviewed him, I sat him down and I said, what are your expectations for the year? He said, we're going to score 50-plus points a game.
That's a pretty bold statement.
I'm like, Joe, let's be serious here. Like, what's the expectation? No, Aaron, we're going to score 50 points a game.
It's pretty impressive.
I said, all right, we'll find out, man.
Yeah.
Game 1, I was like,
here they go.
I know it's for Southern, but damn, these dudes are good. So they proved it all year long.
Absolutely. My most surprising team, it's a tie for first, Minnesota and Baylor. And I'm going to point right to the head coaches. PJ Fleck at Minnesota, row the boat. Again, we've mentioned it probably 10 times in the first 5 minutes, culture change. And he did that over time, bringing guys into that program, getting them to believe and really competing at a high level in the Big Ten. And then Baylor. I mean, just a year ago, they were 1-11, Aaron. Matt Rule, an unbelievable head coach, took a job that would look like career suicide after what Art Briles had left at Baylor, and they turn around, they're 11-1 going to the Big 12 championship game, I think with a great chance to beat Oklahoma.
Great chance.
So that will be a lot of fun. Tell me about your most disappointing team in 2019.
Man, I think my most disappointing team would have to be Texas.
Yeah, I'm going there.
I mean, it's they go back to Sugar Bowl last week, and maybe last year, maybe because all the smack talk. Texas is back, horns up. We're back. We're going to own the state of Texas, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, and it fell right on their face.
Yeah, it was a terrible season. I mean, Texas is far from being back right now. I think their head coach is on a hot seat.
He just fired both of his coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, next year, if things don't get better.
He's next.
You are next, my man. If you're not winning 9 games next year, I think they have to win 9 games in order for him to keep his job. So Texas is a long way back. And I just want to go to recruiting a little bit. If I'm a kid in Texas, and I've talked to a couple actually on my SEC show, a couple coaches at Texas A&M, or not Texas A&M, but in the state of Texas, high school coaches, and they said Texas A&M is bringing more heat right now when it comes to
I can imagine so. For
facilities,
sure.
the money, the stadium, being in the SEC, kids are more excited about A&M than Texas. So you're going to lose a lot of recruits. So that's not helping their cause.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Texas, by far the most disappointing team. Coming off that Sugar Bowl win last year where they throttled Georgia. Sam Ehlinger telling everybody, Longhorn Nation, we're back, and just get slaughtered by LSU. I would say, I know it was competitive late. LSU took care of business in a big way, and then they really weren't that competitive for the rest of the season. I want to talk to you about one guy before the season started. He was crowned the Heisman winner. Urban Meyer called him the greatest quarterback to ever play college football. And really, we're past the regular season now. And people are scratching their heads saying, where's Trevor Lawrence? What happened to Trevor Lawrence? Kind of went through that sophomore slump. Clemson got a bye week at the perfect time, I think, Aaron. And quietly, he's put together a great second half of the season. And I think Clemson is peaking at the exact perfect time.
Oh, I think right now Clemson's the best team in the country.
I agree with you.
They are absolutely rolling. I mean, the only thing against this team, the knock was early in the season, was Trevor Lawrence. Defense was phenomenal. You had 18 running the football. You had great receivers, a great offensive line, and you're like, well, why isn't this team being talked about as the number one team in the country? Well, Trevor Lawrence was just not showing up. He had that sophomore slump. He was forcing balls down the field. He looked out of sync, out of rhythm, just not the kind of guy that we expected. He would kind of make that even bigger jump into year 2. All of a sudden, man, it clicked midway through the season, and right now he is one of the hottest quarterbacks in America. And you said it best, Drew. I mean, he is playing, and this team is playing at the right moment, their best football.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing because they're healthy.
No doubt.
We'll talk about the game they had this weekend.
They got experience.
And they got experience, and they won it last year. And they have that confidence knowing that they're ready to go. So they got to win this week. We'll dive into that game. But if they do, that I do not want to play Clemson in either the semifinal or in the championship game.
No, Trevor Lawrence has the same amount of touchdowns this year as he did last, 30. He's got a higher QB rating and a higher completion percentage than he had last season. And yes, he's got 8 interceptions, but those were before that bye week. Those were during the sophomore slump. He really regrouped himself and has done a really good job. Clemson is primed to wallop Virginia in the ACC Championship this weekend and be looking really good for the college football playoff. Let's recap what happened last week, rivalry week, really quick before we head over to Devon White. I want to start with that Ohio State versus Michigan game. You and I sat here last week. We said, is this the year? Shea Patterson, Michigan, they were looking good. They were taking care of the football. Ohio State was going to Ann Arbor. Could they compete? And at the start of the game, you're going, wow, this might happen. Yep. And then midway through the second quarter, Ohio State said, not so fast. And they stomped them out, and it wasn't even competitive.
So this is funny. I'm sitting on my couch. I finally had a Saturday off. I had the Friday game. And I'm watching the game like, holy smokes, Shea Patterson's actually playing good football. They were driving again. They're inside the 5-yard line. And I'm not kidding you. I'm texting you. I got Drew Butler on the phone.
You were.
And I was literally saying, Shea Patterson is balling out right now. And I'm not kidding. This is crazy. Just as I was about to press send, he fumbles the football. And Ohio State gets it back inside the red zone, goes down there and scores.
Oh, yeah.
And from there, it was game over.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a done deal. It turned into a 2-possession game. Ohio State never looked back. I mean, the difference in the football game was the running. J.K. Dobbins went over for 200 yards. Michigan, under 100 yards as the football team. And then Justin Fields cemented himself as the number 2 guy in the Heisman. Probably one of the favorite guys for next season. I mean, it's unfortunate. Joe Burrow he's not going to lose this. I mean, he'd have to go out there and throw 4 or 5 interceptions this week. But Justin Fields, to get hurt, which was a scary injury. I mean,
to
see that knee, the way it bent, and then to come back a few plays later,
throw a bomb,
roll to
touchdown.
his left, be able to roll to his left, flip his hips, and throw it in the back of the end zone for an absolute little Christmas present. Early Christmas present, maybe a little turkey stuffing, whatever you want to say. And he just absolutely dominated that Michigan defense that we thought may be able to hold them out a little bit, but they're rolling Ohio State.
They win big, 56-27, and Ohio State does what great teams do. When Michigan was trying to make it a game, they said and just pushed them into a corner. I want to talk about one more game because I think it's going to have a lot of implications on this weekend for conference championship. And on the surface, it doesn't look like much. Georgia goes to Georgia Tech, beats the Yellow Jackets 52-7, but Lawrence Cager didn't play. DeAndre Swift went out with a shoulder injury. George Pickens gets in a fight in the second half, and now he is suspended for the first half of the SEC championship game. Georgia looks like they're going to be hobbling in to the SEC championship against LSU this weekend in Atlanta, and that's not what you need to be.
No, I think Swift will be good. I got a little insider, a little birdie there in the locker room.
Okay.
I think Swift is going to be good.
I think the injury to his shoulder was, I just fumbled for the second time, and my coach is going to rip my head off.
Yeah, I think that was more of, my feelings were hurt a little bit.
Exactly.
And I just want to sit on the bench the rest of this game and not make another mistake. Swift will be fine. Swift will be ready to go. I don't want to break the game down too much.
Yeah.
Again, we'll break it down later. But, to me, the most concerning thing this past weekend versus Georgia Tech, I mean, you look back, and I know Jake threw, I think, 3 or 4 touchdowns. But once again, under 50%. And he's aiming the ball.
Yeah.
He looks like he's hesitant. He's guiding it. I don't know if I want to blame him or if I want to blame the coaching staff.
It's a combination of both.
I do feel like the coaches are telling him, just don't lose it.
Yep.
And I'm like, the kid's a 3-year starter.
You got to cut it loose.
The kid has been balling out his whole career. Why are you telling him to be cautious at this moment? You need to trust your starting quarterback, trust the game he's played, and just let him go out there and do his thing. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake. Everyone in the country is going to make a mistake at some point. Don't worry about that. And right now, watching that football game, like I said, I know he had 4 touchdowns. That's not a good Georgia Tech team. But majority of the football game and the majority of the past 3 weeks, he looks like he's out of rhythm, hesitant, and like I said, he's afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah, you talk about trust, and Jake Fromm and the coaching staff at Georgia, doesn't seem like there's much there right now, and we're going to wrap up this segment, and we'll stay on trust because at the end of the season, if your team is not in bowl contention or you did not reach your goals, the administration loses trust with their head coaches, and firings are beginning to happen. This is the season for coach firings. Southern Cal has not fired their coach yet, but Florida State's open. Ole Miss just fired Matt Luke. Boston College is open. Steve Addazio no longer there, and Arkansas is wide open too. What do you think is the most best-looking job opening right now in college football?
Well, I think FSU, obviously, but we'll see. I think something's going to happen this week. I say after that, I would put Ole Miss in there.
Would you?
Yeah, I think being in the SEC, you're in Oxford. I think there's plenty of talent there, and you're inheriting a quarterback in Plumlee.
For sure.
A quarterback, if you watch film on this kid, is absolutely electric. One of the best athletes in all of college football. I mean, the kid runs a 4.3. He ran all around Alabama and a bunch of these other defenses, made him look silly. I think you inherit a guy like that who you can develop as a better passer, and then you put that together, you can build around him. So I think that's a pretty good job if you're a coach with an offensive mind that can kind of use him as a weapon going forward.
I think Florida State is the best one for obvious reasons, but outside the box, I would look to Arkansas. For one reason.
Oh, it's an awful job.
Expectations. They haven't won an SEC game in 2 years. Look, they've got great facilities. They got an amazing booster base, okay? And you have an opportunity to recruit Texas. No in-state rival either. Arkansas is Arkansas. Put the fence up, get some kids there.
Since there's so many kids in the state of Arkansas.
Steal some from Texas, and then hopefully compete with LSU at some point. But I think a Mike Leach to Arkansas, that could happen.
Mike Leach to Ole Miss.
That would be interesting. Again, you'd have to beat LSU. And a guy who would not like that, Devin White, is going to join us next. So come on right back. We'll be joined by Devin White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former LSU Tiger, to break down this weekend's SEC championship game. We'll be right back. This is Campuslore Live. We are back, and it's time to welcome in our first guest this week, our first recurring guest of the season, the number 5 overall draft pick of the 2019 NFL Draft from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Devin White. And Devin obviously is an LSU alumni, Aaron. A huge game in Atlanta this weekend. It's the SEC championship game. Number 2 LSU taking on the number 4 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Devin, let's just get it off the table right here. You're talking to 2 Georgia guys. We know you're an LSU guy. If Aaron and I teamed up and fought you, we might have a chance, but we'll just let that be bygones right now. We need to talk about the game. LSU is red hot right now, and Georgia obviously is kind of struggling to find their identity. The defense looks good. Where do you think Georgia's chances are to beat LSU this weekend?
Well, I'm going to be very realistic about it. I don't think Georgia has a very high chance, but I do feel that they will compete hard and the game will be close early. But as the game progresses, I think Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers are going to just, blow them out the water towards the end. But it will be a great game to start, the first 2 quarters. And I know Georgia got some problems. My guy Swift, I heard he had an injury. One of their best receivers got kicked out for the first half. So they got a lot of problems that they're dealing with. And this is not the team to be having problems, going against.
No, I agree with that one. I mean, you saw last week finally the wake-up call for this LSU defense? They went there versus Texas A&M, get some revenge for that 7 overtime game last year. Kellen Mond threw 3 picks, and it kind of looked like the LSU defense we were expecting. I mean, there's so many good guys. I mean, 2 dudes on that defense will be first-round picks in next year's draft. Probably about 3 or 4 more will be first-round picks in the next couple of years. Like I said, was that the wake-up call they needed to kind of go into the SEC championship game and then the playoffs and really start playing both great offense and great defense?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are starting to understand that, we got to hold ourselves accountable, because LSU has always been a standard on defense. The offense never outshined the defense. And, they know obviously they can't jump back up and overtake what the offense is doing, but they know they can hold teams to 7 points, 0 points, 10 points. Like, the normal LSU defense. So I think it was just all about a confidence thing because if you look all over the field, we got a lot of young guys playing and we got a lot of old guys playing. So, what I preach to the old guys, because that's my class, that's the class that I came in with, is to lead those boys, man. Don't be afraid to get on them because, I was the vocal leader in there. So, the guys that's really left, they just some do their roles and ball out type of guys, especially like Christian Forte. Even though he's going to be a first rounder, he's not going to say too much. He's just going to do his job. Rashard Lawrence, he leaned on me to do those type of things. So I just been trying to get those guys to talk and just get everybody on the same page because, it's a lot of talent on that side of the ball.
Take us back to last year. You were on that LSU team. Georgia goes into Baton Rouge, a lot of high hopes. and you guys gave it right to them. I mean, it wasn't really close after about the first quarter. What was it like preparing on defense to go up against that offense with an experienced quarterback like Jake Fromm and a running back like DeAndre Swift? They're going to have to do it again this weekend.
Yeah, I think that was the most exciting part about, game prepping for them was just knowing that you was playing one of the most elite back in college football in Swift, man. Like, the guy's unbelievable. I watched the things he did in the past and the thing that he's doing right now in the present. And, I took my hat to him. I feel like, honestly, he make Jake Fromm a better quarterback because you got to account for him, and that opens things up for the passing game. So, going in, we know what we have to stop. We already faced those guys, so it's not like it's a new opponent, So as long as we come in with that mindset, that championship swagger, and I feel like they're going to be lights out again.
So LSU's done nothing but win, and then they've won a bunch of great games versus top 10 teams. And then all of a sudden, Ohio State jumps them last week in the playoff polls, and looks like if Ohio State takes care of business this weekend versus Wisconsin, most likely Ohio State will be number one heading into the playoffs. And we were talking earlier on the show about how important it is to be that number one spot because you're going to play Utah, Oklahoma, maybe Alabama finds a way to sneak in if those two teams lose. And then if you're number two, you guys got to play Clemson right now. And that Clemson looks like a scary football team at the moment. One, do you think it was unfair that LSU dropped based on what they've done so far this season? And two, if all things stay equal, what are the chances against Clemson in that first round?
Yeah, I think it was very unfair, man. If you look at it, both teams, Ohio State, I'm not taking none away from them. That's a great team, and I even watched them play, because of Justin Fields and Chase Young. I want to see, and J.K. Dobbins. I was at the Nike opening with him, as a camp counselor. So I'm real kind of close with him. So I watch him every Saturday, see what he's going to do. But our resume is way better than theirs, and I don't know what the committee going off, but I guess they do a great job. But the thing that I noticed about this LSU team is, they got the mindset. They don't care who they play because they know they can beat anybody. Like, they still feel like we the team to beat. We don't care who we play. So going into a game against Clemson, I like our chances a lot against them. And they're just saying because I know, what our offense is going to bring in. Now that our defense playing at a very, very high level, and I know what type of things Coach Aranda can do in big games. So, I feel like we got the coaching staff for it, let alone, the players for it, to play a team like that, such high-powered team.
Speaking of the coaching staff, I need you to tell me what Coach O is going to tell this LSU football team before they walk out onto the field this weekend, and I can't let you off the hook. I know you said LSU is going to roll in the second half of this game. Give me your official score prediction of what's going to happen in the SEC championship game. So what's Coach O going to tell the team, and what's the score going to be on Saturday?
I know Coach O, in this game, I know he's going to preach to the team physicality. That's all it's going to be this week at practice. They're going to be going at it at practice because they know what type of team they're playing in Georgia. So he's going to just be telling them, you got to dominate in the trenches. That's what he always says. It's all about the trench men on both sides of the ball. That's who's going to win the game. And, predicting the score, we've been scoring 40 every game. So I'll at least give us 48 to 14.
48 to 14.
Let's be realistic here. I'll definitely put a Burns in on that one right there if you want.
My man Devon White coming in with a strong prediction, 48-14. Look, if that happens, you better put LSU back there.
Hey, if that happens, dinner at Burns on me, and Drew will buy the bottle of wine for us.
I'll fly Aaron down for that. How about that? That would be perfect. Hey, we know one thing, though, Devin. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll be cheering on your LSU Tigers, and it's going to be an awesome game. So a huge thanks for joining us once again this season. Have a great time this weekend. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Riley Ridley of the Chicago Bears, former Georgia Bulldog. I would think that he might not believe LSU is going to score 48 points on Georgia. But we'll see. Devin, thanks so much, and come on right back after the break. We are back. Welcome into Campuslore Live. Big thanks to Devin White for joining us once again this season. Great to catch up with Devin, ask him about this huge SEC championship game this weekend. Number 1 LSU, of course, taking on number 4 Georgia. And that brings in our next guest, Riley Ridley of the Chicago Bears, 4th-round draft pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. Of course, he went to the University of Georgia as well. Riley, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Welcome into the show. Let's just get your thoughts right off the bat about Georgia's offense, because everybody is talking about how inconsistent they've been. and it seems like they're going to have their best game of the season to win this SEC championship.
Oh man, no doubt they're gonna have to have their best game this upcoming game. But they got some guys in there, that's have been built by Georgia, and they know the way. And I feel like they're gonna go out there and they're gonna have their best game.
Well, I look at Jake Fromm this season. I mean, start off the year really good. The accuracy was there. These past 3 or 4 games, it's kind of gone down, and he's been known as a guy that makes the right decisions, very accurate with the football. I told Drew earlier, I don't think it's Jake. I think it's the coaching staff kind of in his head a little bit about just don't make mistakes. We're going to run the ball. We're going to play great defense. This is a game where you got to ball out as a quarterback. You got to be like he was last year against Tua. I mean, Jake Fromm outshined Tua in that football game against Alabama. Can Jake do it? And maybe talk to us about him as a football player, his arm strength, his accuracy, and his leadership within that locker room.
No doubt he can do it. Jake is a very strong guy mentally. He's very smart. He's a leader. So when you think of a guy like that, and being have to go into this game and play his best game, you expect that out of him. So I know he's gonna do a good job. As far as his talent, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. And me being where I've been and playing with him, it was a good experience, and I learned a lot from him, and I had a lot of fun with him. So,
you were on this team last year, and Georgia dropped that game in Baton Rouge to LSU in 2018. How much do you think that matters for the guys who were on that team this year, trying to maybe get that revenge or use that experience to where they came out flat, things didn't start off the right way? It's going to have to be different this weekend, right?
Right, it's gonna have to be different. I think it's it motivates them a little bit, but each game you got to come out, you got to play your best game. That's what Coach Smart demands out of the guys, and that's what the fans demand. So they know that, and they just gonna play their best game, block out all the noise.
When we look at LSU's offense, obviously Joe Burrow probably going to win the Heisman. You got 3 really good receivers on that side of the ball as well. But then you look at Georgia's defense, and we've said for forever and ever and ever, defense wins championships. These guys on that side of the ball for Georgia, J.R. Reed, some of the really talented guys. Talk about that side of the football and how maybe they can challenge 3 really good receivers for LSU.
Oh man, you got J.R. Reed, you got Richard LeCount, you got Tyson Campbell. And you got Eric Stokes. I mean, those guys have been playing together for about 2-3 years. They're very smart. They're very savvy. They're under Coach Smart, and they know the system, and they're gonna be able to go out and play their best game.
This is Georgia's 3rd straight year in the SEC championship game. Talking about experience, what about what you were able to do? You played a national championship game, a Rose Bowl, 2 SEC championships. What's this environment like? Because Aaron and I got to play in an SEC championship. Aaron played in 2 as well. It's different. It's different than going into Knoxville or going to Jacksonville or going to Baton Rouge. What would you describe the SEC championship atmosphere to be like?
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy. But you wouldn't expect anything less at an SEC game. I mean, when you come into an SEC game, you expect for it to be rocking. You expect for the people to be there. Expect for the liveliness. But in the SEC, I mean, the game is more of we got to win now. We may not have tomorrow, and that can bring up a little risk. But you got to stay composed.
What's Kirby's message? I mean, you were with him in some of these big games we just talked about. Is he kind of super fired up, a little bit more passionate than maybe some of the regular season games, or is he the same coach as you see week 1?
He gonna be the same coach as you see week 1, but he's fired up through the week. Once it gets to Saturday, then it's like you prep so long. He's just gonna really get in there and just let us know. Just remember to play with discipline and composure, and just go have fun.
Such a big game for Georgia this weekend, going up against the number 1 team in the nation with essentially a college football playoff berth on the line. What's going to happen, Riley? Give us your prediction. Who wins the game? How does it go down this weekend in Mercedes-Benz Stadium? Tell everybody what's going to happen on Saturday.
Oh man, okay, I got UGA. You know that, obviously. It's going to be a really good game. I really think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Because of the defense and the depth that they have and experience. I have to say 28-17. 21.
I like that.
I like that, honestly.
I like that. That's a good prediction right there because that's realistic. That's what needs to happen for Georgia to win the game. Keep LSU in the 20s. Yep. Georgia maybe score on defense or special teams, which you just said their defense is so good, Riley. That's what they've been leaning on all season. We'll see if it can take them into the college football playoff. You heard it here first. Riley Ridley going against what Devin White just told us, saying Georgia's going to win the game and go to the college football playoff. Riley, hey, man, we really appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the season up in Chicago, and thanks for joining us. When we come back, we're going to look towards conference championship weekend and tell you who we think is going to make the college football playoff. Come on right back after the break. We are back, Campuslore Live. Huge thanks to Riley Ridley for joining us and breaking down that huge SEC championship game this weekend. Number 2 LSU against number 4 Georgia. Obviously, huge college football playoff implications. And let's start there. There's so much to talk about because I think that this weekend, conference championship weekend, in more than so in years past, has so much to do with what's going to happen in later January, setting up that Final Four.
Well, once again, I mean, this is a great case for keeping it at 4 teams.
Yes, thank you.
This is a playing game. You want to talk about Georgia and keeping it at 8 or going to 4? This is your opportunity to get in. You win, you continue. You lose, you're out. This is a playoff game at the moment. Same thing with Utah and Oregon.
Yeah.
And a lot of these teams. You win, there's a good chance you're in. You lose, you're gone. Bye-bye. So this is why I like 4. This weekend means more. If Georgia, if it was 8, Georgia could walk into this weekend saying, we win, we're in. We lose, we're
most likely in.
What does it matter?
Exactly.
So the excitement around this weekend specifically dies down significantly, and I hate that. This game should mean something, and it does mean all these games mean something. So I love it. There's a million different scenarios that could play out. It's really interesting. Utah wins, are they in? If Oklahoma win, are they in?
Yeah.
I think if I would take right now, I would take a Pac-12 team. I would take Utah over Oklahoma if they win. But, I mean, how crazy is it if Baylor wins and Oregon wins, does Alabama now jump back into it? I mean, could a 2-loss Alabama all of a sudden jump in? And I think both those scenarios are possible. I mean, we'll dive into it more, but I think both teams could lose this weekend, and Alabama could once again sit at home and somehow get into it. I mean, if Utah lost and Oklahoma lost and Georgia lost?
Well, Georgia has to lose by 30 points. Because I think in that scenario, if Georgia loses in overtime, I think Georgia would have a chance to get in.
But let's just say Georgia loses by 7 to 10 points.
Okay.
And those other 2 teams lose. Who else would you put in? Would you put a 1-loss Baylor in?
I think the committee would not put a 1-loss Baylor in. No. And I think that's getting to your point because they would want, you're saying Baylor wins the game.
Yes.
You're saying Oregon wins the Pac-12.
Yes.
Georgia loses a close game or just in regular fashion to LSU. What would happen? Alabama's sitting right there as the best 2-loss team in the nation according to the College Football Playoff Committee. I don't know. I think that they would probably go with Baylor. You'd have to. They just beat Oklahoma.
They're not going with Baylor.
I know, it's crazy.
You just said there's no way they're going.
I'm going back and forth.
There is a 0% chance that Baylor gets in.
0% chance. Okay,
0%.
That's probably wrong. But to your point,
Alabama will get in.
4 teams is the perfect amount because you know why? The playoffs have already started. 2 weeks ago, Oregon played Arizona State, knowing that if they lost that game, they weren't going to the playoffs. They lost. This past weekend, Minnesota played Wisconsin, knowing if they lost that game, they weren't going to get into the playoffs. They lost. Clemson had to beat South Carolina. Georgia had to beat Georgia Tech. You have to win games to make these weekends meaningful. And speaking of games that you could not afford to lose, but you're saying it might not have mattered, Alabama loses to Auburn. They're not going to be in the college football playoff, we think, for the first time in 5 years. That is an amazing streak. But tell me this, what's more impressive? Them making every college football playoff, we think, until this year, or being ranked in the top 5 for 4 consecutive years?
I think both are incredible. And the fact, too, they have not lost 2 games in the regular season since 2010. I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible, the run that these guys have made. I mean, everyone wants to hate on Alabama and knock them down. I mean, to me, that means they're great. And they should feel proud about that. Like, okay, everyone's clapping and cheering that we're out of it. And like I said, there's still a chance they can get in. It's slim, but there is a chance they can get into it. But the run that they have made under Coach Saban is one of the greatest runs, if not the greatest run in college football history.
Absolute dynasty.
What they have done, making the playoffs, being in the top 5 year after year after year after year, it's incredible. And the way they go out there and recruit, bring in new coaches every single season. Yeah, it's pretty special. So, like I said, they're I don't know what the ESPN percentages are, but I think it's about 5 to 8% that they somehow find a way to get in.
That would be extremely impressive if they did get in, thus continuing their streak of being in the college football playoff. I think the college football playoff streak is more impressive than being ranked in the top 5 for 4 consecutive years, because if my math checks out, 4 is one less than 5. So it tightens the pool just a little bit. But an unbelievable run, there's no doubt about it. And setting up those top 4 teams, everybody would assume they know the first 3 in no particular order: Ohio State, LSU, Clemson. They're jockeying for that number 1 spot. We saw Ohio State jump LSU last week. If LSU wins this upcoming weekend against the number 4 ranked Georgia team, will they jump Ohio State? Who knows? But how important is it being that number 1 seed in the college football playoff this year, being able to take on that number 4 seed who nobody knows who's going to be?
It's huge.
Yeah.
I think it's an almost guaranteed win. I think right now, if you're LSU,
guaranteed win.
I think it's almost guaranteed win.
Okay.
I mean, what team?
Well, here's the scenario.
At the moment could you say you feel good about playing Ohio State? Utah, Oklahoma.
Well, here's the scenario I'm going to throw at you. If Georgia were to somehow beat LSU, Georgia would go to number 3. LSU, I think, would go to number 4.
Yeah.
Ohio State's number 1. Clemson's number 2. My whole thought process is you want to avoid Clemson in the semifinal match. I think Ohio State versus LSU in a semifinal match would be the committee's worst nightmare, because those are 2 really, really good teams. They want to try to have that opportunity set up for a national championship.
They want Clemson, Ohio State. Those are the best 2 teams, in my opinion, in the country.
Okay.
I mean, they are the best of the best of the best. You don't want to play Clemson. Let's just think all things are equal in the sense of LSU takes care of business this weekend. Mm-hmm. They're favored to win that football game. They were number 1 a week ago. They got pushed over by Ohio State, who jumped them. If both win, Ohio State keeps 1. Ohio State is.
You think so, regardless?
Regardless of what happens this weekend.
Okay.
I think even if LSU wins by 28 points and Ohio State wins by 14, Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
They've proven it every single week. They've passed the eyeball test when it comes to great offense and great defense. So they would have to lose this weekend to lose that number 1 spot. And for them, they're sitting in the driver's seat. They know that they're not going to have to play Clemson regardless. And you and I were talking about this, I think, at the beginning of the show or off the show. To me, right now, Clemson is the best team in all of college football.
I would agree with you on that.
You don't want to play them until the championship game.
Of course.
So if you're Ohio State, no matter what right now, LSU loses, LSU wins, whatever, you don't have to play Clemson.
Giving Brent Venables and that Clemson defense 4 weeks to prepare for your offense, I don't care if it's Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. I don't care if it's Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, and Ryan Day. They have the advantage with their experience and with their expertise in the college football playoff. There's no doubt about that. What about Utah? If they win, are they in? If they win the Pac-12 and beat Oregon, does Utah get into the top 4, assuming Georgia loses?
If Georgia loses, yes.
What if Georgia loses close? Does Georgia have to win?
No, Georgia has to win.
Okay.
You put a 1-loss Utah team, and in the fact that USC is still ranked, is going to be ranked in the top 25.
For sure.
The only loss that Oregon has this season. So it's a quality loss, according to the committee. That's debatable, but according to the committee, it's a good loss. And you won the Pac-12 against Oregon, who that's a really good win right there. So if Utah takes care of business and LSU takes care of business, I'm putting Utah as 4.
Okay.
I think they deserve it, man. This is a great football team, really good offense. Defense is absolutely incredible, incredible front 4. So, they'd get in, I think.
You mentioned quality of loss. I saw a great sign on College Game Day this past week, and it said, College Football Playoff Committee names Germany winner of World War II for quality of loss. Funny and true. What does quality of loss even mean? Who knows? Yes. We'll find out how important it is this upcoming weekend. What's the most important game this week? Is it the SEC Championship? Is it the Big Ten Championship? What about the Pac-12? I mean, these are games that are going to decide who gets in.
I would say the SEC Championship is the most important.
That has to be it, right?
Just for the
2 top 4 teams.
Yeah, 2 top 4 teams. And if Georgia wins, then all of a sudden you have 2 SEC teams. I think after that would be the Pac-12, because if Georgia does lose, the Pac-12, in my opinion, is the next one in. So if Utah wins, they're in. And then the Baylor-Oklahoma game's kind of the third, because they're kind of they are the outside looking in right now.
For sure.
Oklahoma wins or Baylor wins, I still don't think they need help. They need two other teams to lose to be able to get in. So that's the third most important game of the weekend.
We could talk about this literally for 2 more hours, but let's look ahead to what's going to happen on the field this weekend. It's championship weekend. We'll start with your favorite conference in America. That, of course,
AAC, baby.
Is the AAC, the American Athletic Conference. Number 21, Cincinnati, playing number 16, Memphis. Again, these teams just played each other. Mike Norvell in Memphis, they're looking really good. That's a hot name to watch with these head coaching vacancies.
Awesome name to watch. I mean, I think everyone should be bringing him in right now to interview. It's so tough though to beat a team.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you who's got the edge here. I mean, twice teams, in 2 weeks. That's crazy.
Well, twice in a week.
Yeah,
honestly.
in a week,
twice
really.
In 7 days.
Exactly.
Obviously, advantage to Memphis. They're a better football team. The game's in Memphis. That helps your home field advantage. You just won, so there's confidence that you can beat this team. So, I mean, they know each other.
Do your job,
Yeah, this is just going to be, you said it, do your job. And I think the key for Cincinnati is Desmond Ridder going to be healthy? Desmond Ridder, the starting quarterback, did not play this past weekend. He's been banged up. So is he healthy enough to go there? Their backup came in there, threw 2 interceptions.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So, I mean, that's in these games against 2 good teams, against a team you just played 7 days ago, who takes care of the ball the best? Who runs the ball the best, especially in so-so weather. So I think Desmond Ridder must be ready to go, to use his legs, use his arm to make this game tight or close or competitive. But I think Memphis is the better football team. Like I said, at home, I think Memphis takes care of business back-to-back weeks against Cincinnati.
Yeah, they've got the blueprint. Just don't turn the ball over, lean on our home field advantage, and take care of business. I think Memphis does that and is crowned the AAC champion. Looking towards a New Year's Six Bowl, that could be a fun team to watch in a New Year's Six Bowl. Let's go to the other ACC, the Atlantic Coastal Conference. Number 22, Virginia, taking on number 3, Clemson. I think Clemson's like a 28.5-point favorite here, Aaron. This one should not be close.
No, this is going to be absolute domination. You want to go back to let's talk about Clemson's defense against mobile quarterbacks this year. And Bryce Perkins is a very mobile quarterback, leads the team in rushing. Good passer. Louisville, Cunningham, mobile quarterback, negative 10 yards
Absolutely
rushing.
shut him down.
Texas A&M, Kellen Mond, mobile quarterback. Well, we can see what he does when he gets going running the football, 1 yard.
Yeah.
I mean, this defense, you talk about a quarterback that can move, that create disruption, that can really, be a big pain in the butt for defenses. Not for this defense. They know how to handle guys that want to take it and run. So Clemson's defense, once again, dominates this football game. Trevor Lawrence dominates. They win by 30+.
I think so, too. This game's not going to be close. Clemson's so much better talent-wise. They're so much deeper on the roster. They know what they have to do to impress the committee. This one will not be close. Unfortunately, Bronco Mendenhall and Bryce Perkins don't have enough gas in the tank to keep up with the Tigers. Let's go to the Big Ten championship game. Number 10, Wisconsin, heading to number 2, Ohio State, or number 1, Ohio State, depending on where you're looking at your rankings. Is there any chance Wisconsin can get some vengeance to what happened earlier in the season? Remember, that defense is so good. Can they provide a spark, maybe score on defense or special teams and keep this one close?
Well, that first game when they played each other was bad weather.
Yeah.
Awful weather. And then Wisconsin was in there for pretty much the entire first half. And then Ohio State started to pull away. Second half pulled away.
That's what they do, man.
Jonathan Taylor he didn't get going. 52 yards rushing that first game. That Ohio State defense just clamped him down. So Cohn, the quarterback for Wisconsin, is going to have a big day. You must stay balanced. If you're one-dimensional against this defense, they are going to gobble you up. You saw last week, Shea Patterson. I mean, you take away a couple of those turnovers, that Michigan offense was moving. They were running the ball a little bit. They were throwing the ball effectively. Wisconsin must be balanced to keep this thing close. I don't think they can be. I don't think they're good enough. I think this Ohio State defense is too good. I think this offense is, for how good Wisconsin's defense is, Ohio State's offense is that much better.
That's a good point.
They have too much skill on the outside when it comes to receivers. Right now, you get the number 2 guy in the Heisman race at your quarterback, Justin Fields. J.K. Dobbins is absolutely playing his mind out right now. So Ohio State, just like Clemson, they're just too talented from top to bottom. Wisconsin may be in it in the first half like the first time, but I think they'll run out of steam.
I like how Wisconsin last week utilized Jonathan Taylor in the passing game against Minnesota, but you mentioned it. Cohn's going to have an unbelievable game against that Ohio State defense, and you said they might have the number 2 player in the Heisman race in Justin Fields. They might have the number 3 player in Chase Young. Figure out a way to stop Chase Young. It's going to be really dependent on how disruptive he is. I think Ohio State wins this game as well, Aaron. Friday night, the Pac-12 championship, number 13, Oregon is going to take on number 5, Utah. This game's out in California at Levi's Stadium, the 49ers Stadium. This one, I think Oregon has a legitimate chance to win this game.
Yeah, they do. This is going to be a great football game. I think of all the games this weekend, this may be the closest, most entertaining football game to watch. I mean, this is a very good Oregon team. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. It depends. I mean, if this is the first round top 10 pick, Justin Herbert, that shows up to this game,
it's time to shine.
This is his moment, man. If you want to be a top 5 pick, Joe Burrow's locked at number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Ain't no one jumping Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to be the first quarterback taken off the draft, or the first pick of the draft or the second pick of the draft, whatever that team needs. If you want to be number 2 and you want to be a top 10, you go beat a Utah defense. A Utah defense that's given up 56 yards rushing per game.
That's crazy.
They are making teams one-dimensional. They are making teams throw the football. Justin Herbert is going to have to throw the ball 35-plus times in this game. Earn that first-round pick, buddy. Go out there and do it. I still like Utah to win this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Oregon's offensive line against Utah's defensive line. If Herbert can stand in the pocket and not turn the ball over, they'll have a chance to win.
And Oregon has a great offensive line.
I'm going with Oregon in this game.
Oh.
Going with Oregon for the upset. I think there's going to be a lot of screws thrown into the college football.
You just want Alabama to get it.
No, I don't. What about the Big 12? Number 6, Oklahoma, getting a little rematch against number 8, Baylor. Obviously, if you remember, Baylor was up 28-3 about 3 weeks ago and botched this game. Do they have what it takes to upset Oklahoma?
Yeah, they did. And they could have won that first game.
They should have won.
Yeah, they should have. I mean, Jalen Hurts threw 1 interception, 2 fumbles lost. I think that's a recipe. Make him try to be Superman. He's going to try to make some incredible plays. Take advantage. When the ball's out in his hand running the football or throwing the ball down the field, you got to take advantage, get some turnovers, and then stay on the field. I think the big reason why they lost that game, their defense was exhausted. Oklahoma had the ball for 41 minutes.
Can't do that.
Your defense was on the field for 41 minutes against a top 10 offense in this country. They were bound to give up points. You saw it in the fourth quarter. Those guys had no juice left in the tank, and Oklahoma came back and won. So continue. You got to take advantage of the turnovers, and you got to slow the game down. You got to keep Oklahoma's offense off the field. Keep your defense off the field. I think Baylor has a great chance. I think Baylor has been looking forward to this game. They're ready for the revenge. I think they get it. I think Baylor goes out there and wins this one.
It's going to be fun to watch them with that chip on their shoulder trying to erase what happened a few weeks ago. I like Oklahoma here. I think the committee is obsessed with the Jalen Hurts story, and I think if they win and Oregon wins, Oklahoma is going to slide into that number 4 position. Yeah, but
who did you say, Utah?
Hold on now. We're going to get to the next game, which I think has a real chance to happen.
Utah or Oklahoma? Who do you put in? I forgot. Did you answer this?
Oklahoma.
You put Oklahoma over Utah?
Yes, and I think the committee would as well.
Okay.
Yes, because of Jalen Hurts and Lincoln Riley.
Then why are they not ranked ahead of them right now?
Because the committee loves drama, and nobody will ever know what they discuss in their
So right now you think the committee, because I would say Baylor and Oregon are on equal grounds.
Okay.
You're saying if they both win, that somehow Oklahoma would jump them for no apparent reason.
If Oklahoma loses? If Oklahoma wins.
Oklahoma wins and Utah wins.
Yes.
Why would Oklahoma jump Utah?
Because I think Baylor's ranked number 8 and Oregon's ranked number 13, and they're going to say they're going to another quality win. I'm just telling you right now. Look, I'm just telling you, if I was on the committee, that's what I'd be saying. And they want the Jalen Hurts story to be in the college football playoff. Let's talk about the biggest game of the weekend, though. We've talked to Devin White about it. We've talked to Riley Ridley about it. It's the SEC championship. Number 4, Georgia going up against number 1 or number 2, LSU. This has so many implications. Georgia's a touchdown underdog. This game's in Atlanta. This is Georgia's 3rd year in a row in the SEC championship. It's strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness. LSU's offense is obviously phenomenal. Georgia's defense is unbelievable. Yep. LSU's defense has shown to be a bit inconsistent, and Georgia's offense has shown to be inexistent at times. So what happens, what gives? Where do you lean here in this big matchup?
I mean, this is 150 years of college football this year. 150 years. Defense for about 148 of those years has won championships.
Yes,
so, I mean,
good point.
Is all this research and history about how defense wins championships, we say it every year, does that go up the drain in 2019? Or do defenses still dominate football games? So Georgia has a chance.
What's it going to take for Georgia to win?
They're going to have to they need some turnovers.
Okay.
They need good field position, and we go back to the beginning of the show. This coaching staff needs to sit Jake Fromm down and say, my son,
go do it.
Let it rip. No hesitation. I don't care if you go out there and throw 4 picks. We don't care. We want you to go out there and just test the waters. Let this thing go against an LSU team that's been so inconsistent defensively. I know they just came off a great game versus A&M. Kellen Mond threw 3 interceptions. Their defense is feeling pretty good right now. Who cares? You have experience.
Yeah.
Remember last year's game? Tua versus Jake Fromm? Tua outshined Jake Fromm. It looked like Jake Fromm should have been the first round pick.
Yes, Jake Fromm outshined
looked like he did.
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is his moment to once again shine. So defense wins championships.
Yeah.
I think if Georgia can keep them into the 20s, make this a 27-23 type ball game, I think they can win it. It's going to be a tight. I think it's going to be a great football game. I think it's going to be super close. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, if you're into transitive properties, look no further than the Auburn matchup, right? LSU is held to 23 points. Auburn scored 20. Georgia beat Auburn 21-14. Can Georgia keep LSU under 30 points? I don't know, but what's it going to take for Georgia to score 30 points? I don't know. They're going to have to play mistake-free. You can't turn the football over. You have to win field position. You have to steal a possession. You maybe have to score on defensive special teams. This is a five-star game.
And you got to take some chances.
You got to take chances, and you have to execute when the chances are
just
there.
No fake punts, though.
No fake punts. No fake punts whatsoever. I don't know. It's going to take a miracle. I think most everybody's expecting LSU to win this game, but defense and run game, it always travels. That's exactly what Georgia has. Who's going to win? Give me your pick.
No. This game.
I don't know either. I really don't know, but it's going to be fun to watch. And if Georgia does win, I cannot wait to see what the final rankings are for the college football playoff. And we'll, of course, be here to discuss it. Huge thanks to Devin White and Riley Ridley for joining us. Aaron, as always, thanks so much, my man. And we'll see you back here next week right here on Campuslore Live.